on here. Uh, yeah, so sometimes when I listen to other Chicanos talk about certain subjects, and then I hear stuff that I don't agree with, um, I just sometimes want to address that issue, maybe online. um, a lot of times I get a lot of this, when you get into this Chicano indigenous consciousness, they become everything that's like they become anti-Christian without a deeper understanding of Christianity, and they're just a lot of times these guys just want to like live their life without morality, or they want to just go ahead and keep drinking and smoking their weed, and you know just I'm not pushing any like moral legalism, because nobody's perfect. Anyways, man, these people drive so fast out here. Anyways, I'm not pushing any legal moralism, but it's still good to have morals to strive to be a better you in some sense. So I hear some of these Chicano, Mexica, indigenous guys, they buy into a lot of new age beliefs, and I just heard, like, I was just listening to, sometimes I listen to different guys that come on social media and all that, and they give their perspective on Christianity, and I don't always agree with them on everything. So, and I used to be on that other side. I used to bash Christianity all the time, and a lot of times because I read a lot of liberal books back then, New Age liberal books, and I didn't know much about the real history of Jesus, the real Jesus, in that sense. I did believe in God, and the creator of everything. But this Mexica type people get so ridiculous that they become anti everything. It's not realistic. It's not realistic. But I overheard one of them saying that, oh, there's no such thing as good and evil. The problem with Christianity is that they believe in good and evil, and there's no such thing. And that, oh, you need observation. Just observe things, and there's no such thing as good and evil. I'm like, that's just nonsense. That's straight out nonsense. And it sounds like an atheist, or even like some of these Buddhists out here, you know. And I always, I studied a lot of Buddhist. I even wrote books. I mean, papers on Eastern philosophy, um, Taoism and Buddhism and all that stuff. I was really hardcore into it, but I always had an issue. It's like, wait a minute, even a guy like was it Friedrich Nietzsche and stuff like that. Like, if you don't believe in good and evil, then, like, there was this one Christian apologist made a good point. He said, if you don't believe in good and evil, then if someone grabbed the baby in front of you, and well, I can't say this on YouTube. Well, just say somebody observed. Somebody observed. Say somebody came by, did a drive-by, and there was a kid there, and the person doing the drive-by was a gang member, just decided to blast on anybody who was in that neighborhood. So it just happened to be a kid that was there, right? Sometimes there's stuff that's really evil that occurs in life, right? So this type of Mexica person will say there's no such thing as good and evil. You know, I'm on a psychedelic, trip, right? Sounds like a hippie to me. But anyways, there's no such thing as good and evil when obviously the person doing something horrific in front of you. What do you call that? Do you think that's a neutral thing, right? I can't impose any good and evil concept on that. It's just neutral. I just observe. That's just BS right there, right? There has to be a point where you have to admit that when somebody does a horrific crime in front of you, you observe what's going on, yes, but you have to admit that horrific, act is evil. You have to admit that there is such a thing called evil in this world. Okay? How do you even determine if you have no standards of good and evil, then anything goes, right? There's no such thing as morality, right? You could do whatever the hell you want, right, and get away with it. Oh wow, I'm passing by a park. There's a cool event going on. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, but this is the problem with Buddhism, Taoism, and a lot of this Nietzsche atheism, even New Age stuff. They don't believe in good and evil, but then they have to admit when there's something evil that occurs, like some horrific act that happens right in front of them, they have to admit there's something wrong there. There's something evil, right? And the same thing with the opposite. When someone does an act of charity, goes and helps a homeless person, or someone with a disability and cares for them, right? You don't say, oh, that's a neutral. I can't make a judgment on that. What they're doing is neutral, right? I'm just observing. It is what it is. It's just reality, and that's it. It is. That's just nonsense right there. You gotta have a standard of morality, a good and evil, and I would say that person's actions is actually a good action. I'm like, that's good right there, right? So to me, like, these guys don't believe in dualities that exist in reality, but even amongst the Mexicas, right? We did have duality existing in reality, right? And this is where I agree with Mexica philosophy. Even like that whole dualism, but I do not believe that dualism is an illusion, as the Buddhists like to say. They try to say everything's one, right? Everything is a unity and one. Duality is an illusion. I don't agree with that. There's certain things that are not one, and there's your perception of reality. There's a time where you have to make distinctions, right? You have to make distinctions. There's particularities. In philosophy, we call this particularities, uniqueness, distinctions. If you don't have that thing, that capability to make distinctions, then you're going to live in illusion as well. You're going to think everything's all one, right? I could even go as far as saying white supremacy is one with brown liberation. They're all the same thing, right? There's no distinction there. No, you got to make a distinction. You have to make a distinction between good and evil, God and the devil, um, good acts versus bad acts, right? There is a duality that exists in reality, right? Male and female, or else you're going to push this non binary BS. Reality is very binary, and this is what makes us distinct and unique, right? It's true, all of reality is interconnected, but there's also distinctions as well. So, and when you start taking the morality and you start trying to get rid of these distinctions, then anything goes. You have no standard of morality. You could do whatever you call good evil and evil good, right? You're confused. You know, you don't believe in you don't have no standards of good and evil. So that's where I have issues with and problems with. Um, so for sure, how's it going? Hold on. How's it going? Okay, it's clear now. Oh, I know somebody. Let me see. I have somebody commenting on my YouTube. His name is Yosef. How's it going, Yosef? Let me see if I can read some of your comments. It's not clear. Maybe my connection is not clear. I'm not too sure, or I'm not too sure what he was mentioning there. Let me actually. Oh shoot! Yeah, I have to turn here. So it's not clear. Okay, it's clear now. Okay, cool. Not too sure. He says, I believe in Jesus Christ. He's my Savior. Yeah, definitely. Same here, man. Jesus Christ, man. Came to set the world free, from the bondage of sin and wickedness and evil, right? Definitely. Um, Religion is different. Yep, you're right. And this is where people definitely they don't make those distinctions between Jesus Christ and corrupt religion, right? I even saw a post. It was an ignorant post on a Chicano group. And some anti-Christian Chicano, could have been like a Mexica type guy, saying that, oh, Christianity gave birth to the racist European man. And I'm like, wow, this guy is ignorant, because he doesn't know what true Christianity is, right? And that's not even true at all, because early Christianity had people of different ethnicities. It wasn't just Jews or Hebrews, right? There was Hebrews who became Christians, but there was also Arabs, there was Greeks, there was Romans, there was different people around that area. It didn't start off racist, right? Jesus was inclusive. He healed and ministered to Gentiles and Hebrews as well. So he was countering actually the racism of that time. So true Christianity didn't give birth to the white supremacist European. What gave birth to white supremacy in the European man, was his thinking. That's what it was. His thinking of that he's superior, right? As a matter of fact, I could even go into tribalism. As much as I'm pro-indigenous and tribalism, I think a lot of tribalism gives birth to this kind of thinking, that, oh, my tribe is this and that, I'm the superior tribe, your tribe is the inferior, right? And it goes over to, oh, my race is the superior, then yours is inferior, right? It's tribalism, which even goes further into nationalism. It goes into racism and all that. Is that stinking thinking that I'm better than you, I'm superior to you, than you, that kind of thinking right there. And Here's the thing: is just when you and 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 you could say that Jesus never promoted that. Jesus was very humble. He says actually serve one another, love one another with humility, right? With humbleness, with love and compassion. That is different from saying, hey, I'm superior than you, therefore you should be under my thumb, you should be my little slave, and you should, bow down, right? That's totally the opposite of what Jesus was all about. So definitely, when I think of evil, I remember the person who murdered Selena. Yeah, yeah, exactly, man. You gotta admit that there's evil in this world, man. Even like that's what Yosef said. When I think of evil, I remember the person who murdered Selena. And that's so true right there, man. You gotta admit there's evil. There's evil in the world. There's evil spirits influencing people, right? Man, there's corruption out here. You gotta admit that evil does exist, and there's a source of that too. You know, and so evil does exist, and here's the thing: if you tell this Mexica person, okay, say I go along and say, oh, evil doesn't exist according to your belief, right? Then you have to admit that, okay, what Columbus did over here and the Europeans did to the in Europe to the indigenous people, all the genocide and all that, based on your belief that there's no such thing as good and evil, you're gonna have to admit that, oh, okay, then what the Europeans did to the indigenous people was not evil. It's just neutral. I'm just observing. It is what it is. It's just reality, right? It just doesn't make sense. It's just nonsense. So the way I believe there is good and evil. And what Columbus did to the indigenous people was definitely evil. What the Europeans did to the indigenous was definitely evil. So, so definitely. So yeah, good point, Yosef. Definitely, you made some good point there. Yeah, what happened to Selena? That lady, and it's rooted in evil. Jealousy is evil, right? The lady that killed Selena is jealousy. I heard she was all about money too. So that they caught her like taking Selena's money and stuff like that, and they confronted her about that, and so she just went haywire, nuts, and did that. So it's about evil, like it's jealousy, it's greed, that's why even the Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil, right? And it's money is not evil. It's good to have money, right? But the love of money, when you put idols before God, right? You put money before God, that's evil, you know? So, and it leads to evil too. Like you end up doing evil because you're after money, right? You're all about money. People sell their souls for money, right? They sell their bodies like prostitution, and you see all these younger women going for old men with cash and money, end up having their babies and all that. They sell their bodies, they sell their soul to the devils, they sign a contract, to become rich and famous in the music industry and Hollywood and all that, right? That's what it's all about right there. That's evil right there. So you gotta admit there's evil in this world, or else you're not gonna admit nothing is evil. So that's why it's important that we know what's when evil does occur, you gotta admit, hey, that's why we have even like it's in modern times we have the prison system, right? Although some criticize the prison system as corrupt and all about money as well. But even if you go back to indigenous times and everything, when someone did something horrible to somebody, there was a consequence. The tribe, the nation will, you have to pay for you would be punished, right? And they had their different types of punishments, you know. So there is consequences that you gotta, consequences to your evil actions, right? So yeah, and even indigenous times, like even the whole spirit realm, their evil does exist. So I think a lot of this New Age BS has leaked over and infiltrated the indigenous movement to make you think that there's no such thing as good or evil. Everything is non-binary. That's all BS. Indigenous people did believe in evil spirits too that exist. Look at the skinwalkers and all that. They know about evil spirits. So evil does exist in this world. So you gotta admit that.